Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and today I'm going to simplify why we do not need coercive government. Statism is a religion, and most people cannot envision a life without government. They bow down to it. In reality, we already live in an anarchist society. It's just that there are really powerful organized crime gangs running around stealing people's money and putting words on paper that their sports team loving lackeys proclaim as law while waving the different colored flags under the guise of different ideologies. In reality, these are just different flavors of the same religion. Recently, I've been getting ticketed for parking in front of my own house between 9 and 11 a.m. on a residential street. Alongside myself, countless other people are getting ticketed by pirates as well, many of them quite poor. I've been told to pay for a permit, but it seems absurd to me to pay to park on a quiet residential street, which few people actually go down. Seems a lot easier to just take the signs down. I complained to the area's City Councilor in Winnipeg, Canada. His name is Matt Allard. He claimed that the timed parking signs were in order to stop the street from clogging. At 9 to 11 a.m.? Really? So outside of Canada Day, parking is never an issue on these quiet streets. Besides, that only becomes an issue at nighttime before fireworks go off at around 11 p.m. on Canada Day again. Otherwise, parking is most crowded around 5 p.m., not 9 to 11 a.m. while everyone is at work. Sometimes there are a few more cars on the street on weekends, but alas, the sign doesn't apply to weekends, only weekdays. The city councilor told me that some residents consented. Okay, so a couple people on the street who aren't even around at the time of day consented to taking my money. Yeah, well, I don't consent. He then claimed that ticketing people wasn't stealing money and went on to say this, and I quote, "Okay, you don't want to pay taxes?" And then he went on to say, "To put it in context, it does cost money to enforce time-limited parking on a street. That is why there is a charge." To which I replied, "Again, I have a solution for you. Take the signs down. Not only will it not cost money to enforce any longer, but there won't be a charge and people will live happily ever after." Also, I urge you to read Rothbard, Mises, Hayek, any of the above. You seem surprised that someone doesn't want half their money taken from them. Some guy then complained that I was complaining, telling me to tell him something I'm actually happy about, to which I said this, and I quote, "I'm happy when gangs of thugs don't steal my money. I'm happy about what I've personally accomplished in life, all of which I've done without the help of the state, constantly trying to take my money and destroy everything I've worked for." Another man then responded with the following, "Josh, I completely respect the fact that you've worked very hard to get to the point you're at, and that it's difficult to see your hard-earned money leave your bank account. Legitimately, I get that. I feel that too. But, have you never driven on roads, walked on sidewalks, spent time in parks, gone to school, been to the hospital, or had a family member go to the hospital? I'm aware those last two are not municipal. I'm asking a larger question here. Not to mention the 1,000 invisible services that keep our society running. Did those things not allow you to live and make the life you wanted for yourself? I fail to understand how taxes are robbery. How is this stuff going to get paid for otherwise, unless we all chip in? Sure, there's some waste in the public sector that should absolutely be combated. You've got an ally there. But I don't complain about a single overpass costing $700 million. That's enough to renovate all of Winnipeg's 63 community centers twice over and still have enough left over for a few riverbank stabilizations, even though I would never ever use it. I get that it's important to some people. I'm not sure I'm understanding your point, so please feel free to clarify if you feel that I misunderstood you. Okay, just to give you all some context, the thread I was commenting on was about a $10 million tiny sidewalk built near a hospital that has taken months for absolutely no reason, blocking off the road and restricting ambulances from getting to the nearby hospital, making traffic a nightmare. Well, now someone has invited me to debate the so-called necessity for government. He thinks I've never heard such elementary arguments before. He is mistaken. Matt Allard liked the comment, by the way. Okay, so here we go. This is a statement I responded with. And I quote, "First, government is an entity not much different from an organized crime gang. What makes them different? Nothing, except for a large portion of the public support. This is an issue of social contract versus private contract. I do not consent to my money being taken from me, but I have no choice. If I wish to keep my own money, a giant collective tells me I must give it up or else. What happens when you refuse to pay taxes? You are thrown in a cage. That is theft. It's two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. What if myself and 20 of my friends decided to take half of your earnings? Is it suddenly consent because the majority of the collective entity that is myself, my friends, and you decided to take your money? You say no, but then you have no choice because fair and square, the vast majority voted on it. Roads are a tiny amount of municipal funding. Tiny. You don't need government to build roads, and you don't need tolls to build roads either. I've got a few dozen books that discuss this, not just in theory, but with countless examples. I suggest Private Governance by Edward Stringham. Good ideas do not require force. Government is force. One collective, or person for that matter, does not have the right to enforce its will on another collective that's smaller, or person. In a free market, individuals vote with their dollar. Companies are forced to actually compete in the market for the best product at the best price. They treat people badly, and people naturally go somewhere else. In this case, you have businesses competing to provide people the best product at the best price. Innovate the market, constantly be working to come up with better products to compete in the market, therefore increasing productivity, increasing jobs and diversity of jobs, increasing wages, and cutting out the massive government subsidized and favored monopolies in the restricted markets of today. When government regulates and taxes the hell out of businesses, the bigger businesses can afford the changes, and the small businesses largely, get this, cannot, and therefore competition is cut out of the market, propping up the big business that much more. It's unfair and does not allow for the private contract, voluntary consent of the individuals with their dollar, mix in fractional reserve lending and quantitative easing into that equation, and you have vast inflation that pushes the price of living up constantly while drowning people underneath, most notably the poor. The government is a series of dialectics. It's Hegelian. Problem, reaction, solution, repeat. Everything government does, the free market can do better. Take healthcare, for example. Big pharmaceutical giants are propped up with taxpayer money. No incentive to sell the best product at the best price. Little competition, period. So the prices of medication go up regularly as the government pumps it with stolen funds from the populace. It's a never-ending cycle, creating the very problems that the state claims fixes the problem. That's an infinite circle. It's not fair, and it cuts out great medical innovations in the market. Government has done literally nothing to improve my life. It's just made it more difficult. I started off as a Marxist when I was about 12. Been through all socialist theory, communist theory, progressivism, liberalism, conservatism. Today, I am a voluntarist, a subsection of libertarianism. I believe in voluntary action, not enforced action. Individuals can rule themselves, but they cannot aggress against others. This is freedom, responsibility, treating people how you'd expect to be treated yourself. That does not mean no government. That means no coercive statism, Private contract governance is fine. It's free. It's fair. Individuals donate to projects they wish to fund. We aren't all judged by one giant brushstroke as some giant collective where 51% gets to rule the 49%. You may say this is utopian theory. Well, communism was a theory, a terrible one at that. So was fascism, another terrible theory. And both plagued more than half of the planet within 50 years of their creation. A society where any ideology can reign through voluntary governance is the only accepting ideology I can think of, and also opens the doors to ending division between individuals, classes, races, belief systems. It would also cut out massive wars, massive debts, and the enforcement or intrusions into individual liberties. I left school in 9th grade because all they did was indoctrinate me to repeat mantra. I dropped out and read books instead. I didn't waste my childhood years, an individual's most important timeline. I spent my childhood years, for the most part, pushing myself to learn outside of Common Core indoctrination. I became a successful business person, starting the fastest growing currently independent media in the world, and garnering a bigger audience as a reporter / pundit than any other reporter in Manitoba, the province I live in, and one of the largest audiences in Canada. I reach 500,000 to 850,000 people a week on average if you count all reach through social medias. I did that myself. I didn't depend on anyone. I taught myself. I went back to do my GED a couple years ago without studying. Got 98% on it. You don't need state enforcement to spend time in a park, walk down a street or sidewalk, go to a hospital and have affordable health care, go to school, or do any of the things you proclaim. We've been indoctrinated to believe in statism as we cannot comprehend living without it. It's so drilled into our brains because it's all that we know. Government is a religion. Government has hymns, national anthems, churches, schools, and government buildings, crosses, flags, and is worshipped by all. It is a shadow on the wall, a trick. Power exists where people believe it exists. Do not fall for it. You are a free individual and I have no right to enforce my will on you. Not only is it immoral, but it's illogical. I hope this answered your question. I know it's unorthodox, but I assure you everything begins that way. End quote. Suffice to say, no one has responded to my argument because, quite frankly, they probably never heard such an argument before, and I may have damaged some of their indoctrinated wiring, especially with Mr. Allard, considering he seems to be basing his life around statism as if it's something to be proud of. Stealing people's money and paying yourself, not to mention going around spending people's money on useless crap to put your name on, is extortion and garbage. Nothing to be proud of. It's welfare. You are not helping. You're hurting. I ask those who have questions regarding my statement or have an argument to please step up. I will respond to decent arguments in a later video. I respect arguments. I will love individuals, but I will hate their ideologies if it requires force and aggression. There is absolutely no excuse to rule other people. Not moral, not logical, not okay. Rule yourself. Decentralize your life. Be self-sustainable. Be responsible. Be independent. Help others as you see fit because you as an individual are a product on the market. You are the product of your own actions. Do bad things, reap the consequences. Do good things, see your value as a human being rise. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized by YouTube as they bring in the ADL to flag all of our content as hate speech. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also check us out at Steemit at Josh Sigurdson, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in cryptocurrency, Steem that is. So don't forget to check us out there and find us at Anarchapulco 2019. I know it's early, but this is such an exciting event coming up with Ron Paul, Judge Napolitano, David Icke, Larkin Rose, Jeff Berwick, you know, all the usual characters, and it's going to be amazing. So we hope to see you there. Make sure to check the link for Anarchapulco below and use promo code WHAM to save as much as 15% on your tickets. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.